Hello, and welcome to this week's development tip here in Character Voice Building with me, Nando Garza. So, today's development tip is basically what I call natural speak. And this is something you come across a lot when you're doing voiceover for commercials and stuff like that. You will often find a direction that says, no announcer voices, no radio voices, that kind of thing. We want a natural, friendly read, something that feels natural. But I believe what they're asking for is not really truly authentically natural. They're looking for a natural-ish sound. And I'll give you some examples so that maybe you can figure out exactly what I mean, because it's kind of difficult to describe. So one thing that I would suggest you doing is when you're in a conversation with anybody, just take out your phone and start recording the audio of it. And just let it run for like 5 minutes or stuff like that. Don't think about it. Just have a normal conversation with someone. Then stop recording, and the next day review it and just listen to how your natural voice sounds. The pitch, the rhythm, the musicality of it, all these different things, the tics, quirks, etc. And just to understand what your natural voice is when speaking without thinking about it. Because again, everything really changes the moment you have something on the page and you have a microphone on your face. For whatever reason, it's a human natural thing to just change it and do things differently. And it doesn't come out as natural. So it's good to know what your baseline is, and it will take practice. This is so bizarre that it will take a lot of practice for you to be able to read something and sound truly natural in your own natural voice. It seems oxymoronic, but that's actually the case. It takes a lot of practice. To give you an example of what I mean, I have a script here in front of me that of something I did a while back, and I'm going to read it in 3 different versions. One will first be the radio version, the announcer voice that they don't want to do. Then I'm going to try to do it as natural as I possibly can, the way I would naturally say something. And the third will be what I believe is what they're looking for, which is that natural-ish sound. So here we go. First is announcer type. Have you ever drank a beer that was so tasty and so light, like 94 calories light, that every time you sipped it, it was like the first time? Try extra tasty Bud Light Crisp. It's a surprise in every sip. So you can tell there's a lot of kind of exaggerated kind of like, try extra tasty Bud Light Crisp. Very, too embellished, I guess, too, not cartoony. You know what I mean? It's a little too kind of overproduced, if you want to put it that way. So that was that one. Then I'm going to do the natural, truly natural speak. Yeah, that's pretty good, but let me ask you something. Have you ever drank a beer that was so tasty and so light, like 94 calories light, that every time you sipped it, it was like the first time? You know what I mean? Well, try extra tasty Bud Light Crisp. It really is a surprise in every sip. It's crazy. So even doing that was kind of difficult for me. I had to do several takes. And as you can see, there are certain things that I added. For example, I added a lead up to the read just to feel like it's more of a conversation. I added a little like, yeah, well, maybe, that kind of thing, which is something I would naturally do, as you hear in these videos. And you add things like, it's a surprise in every sip, man. You know, like the man, that kind of thing. Those little things that you add that aren't considered a clean script, but those are really what makes it sound real. It sounds authentic. That's how people normally talk. So, but they don't want that. It's too casual. It's like, yeah, that's not exciting or anything like that. It's just kind of like, man, that's just real life. It's a regular conversation. They want something that sounds real, that sounds relatable, but that still gives it that extra oomph to kind of be like, Oh, that sounds cool. That kind of thing. So, this is going to be my attempt at reading it the way I believe they would want it read. This would be the natural ish read. Have you ever drank a beer that was so tasty and so light, like 94 calories light, that every time you sipped it was like the first time? Try extra tasty Bud Light Crisp. It's a surprise in every sip. That's not bad. And I think that's probably more what they're looking for. They don't want something overproduced, overpolished. They don't want anything too casual and just too kind of like throw away. They want something in the middle, a little bit of attitude. So, have you ever drank a beer that was so tasty that it still sounds natural, but it's not over the top, and it's also not something you would use all the time in your regular speech, but it could be. And so light, like 94 calories light, just more casual throwaway, that every time you sipped it was like the first time. And there's something that happens here that I think helps a lot with giving that impression of natural speak, which is basically to not elongate certain words. So, for example, um, here, try extra tasty Bud Light Crisp. If you will read a more like announcer, it's try extra tasty Bud Light Crisp. Ba, ba, ba. Whereas a more natural one is like try extra tasty da, da, da. Try extra tasty Bud Light Crisp. It's a surprise in every sip. It's a surprise in every sip. It's a surprise in every sip. Cutting, especially the ends of it, a little short helps it give that naturalness to it. Because if you elongate, that's when you start kind of polishing it a little bit, making it a little bit more stylistic. But if you cut it short, it feels much more natural. And so light, like 94 calories light, that every time you sipped it, okay, was like the first time. You can play a little bit. You don't want to be monotone. You can add a little bit in. But in general, just kind of try not to elongate. Was like the first time that feels a little bit more natural. The last tip I have within this development tip is basically to use that lead up, make something up so that you can get into that flow. So, have you ever drank a beer that was so tasty and so light? Well, why would you be doing this? Maybe you're talking to a friend of yours and this person has some other beer, another brand. It's like, dude, taste this. This is amazing. This is the best one in the world. Try it. And you're like, man, it's all right. And then it could flow into it's like, yeah, it's all right. But have you ever drank a beer that was so tasty and so light, etc.? So that lead up helps you get into that flow already, as opposed to just smack starting at the beginning of the script. Of course, be careful not to combine the lead up with the beginning of the word. For example, you wouldn't want to do, yeah, that's pretty good, but have you ever drunk? Because cutting that will feel unnatural. So do a lead up, but do a little bit of a pause so you can edit that out. So it's like, yeah, that's pretty good, but have you ever drank a beer that was so tasty? You know, there's enough of a pause that you can cut it and then it would sound natural. So anyway, thank you for joining me today. If you liked it, please like and subscribe. You can share this if you like. It would really help the channel. And yeah, we'll be back with more stuff for you soon. So please take care, be kind, and we'll see you soon.